First item is Commissioners' Public Forum. Seeing nobody, move on to the third item, is warrants, abatements, and approvals as needed.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the following warrants. First of all, we have Veolia for $720 for emergency services for January. Veolia for operations and maintenance, repair and maintenance for November and December, $39,182.91. Next, we have Charlton Oil for $382.99.
282?
Pardon?
282?
282.99.
82.
Okay, did I mumble over that? I'm sorry. Next, we have E.J. Prescott for $1,109.10. And now Bigelow Electric for North Main Street Pump Station, $5,710. And one more for Bigelow Electric for Vine Street, $605. Next, we have Austin and Gas for $1,178.81. Another one for Osterman, $1,367.32. And another one for Osterman, and this is not, this is a credit to us for some incorrect pricing of $385.39. One more for Osterman of $1,258.73. And lastly for Osterman, $1,527.11. Next we have Beta for $757.52. And then Cosgrove and Blatt for $162. Mass Waterwork Association for D2 training, $968. And New England Waterworks Association, also for D2 training, $1,100. And lastly on this paper, we have W.D. Matthews, $190.39. Let me see if there's any on page 2. No, that's it.
Okay, and that totals to $55,734.49.
That's correct.
Okay, we have a second on that?
I'll second it.
Alex, thank you. Any discussion? I've got a question on Bigelow, North Main Street Pump Station.
Yes.
Did they put a new pump station in?
No.
$5,700?
Yes.
Yeah.
The invoice is in
Well,
there. That was the one where the injector pump went bad, and they had to rebuild the injector pump, and they rebuilt the injectors while they were there because they found an issue with the fuel. It was in there for a long time, and it was old fuel. So they sucked the fuel out, rebuilt the injector pump, and rebuilt the injectors while they were there, changed the filters, and got it back going.
This is diesel, right?
It was a diesel, yes.
How old was the fuel?
Very old. It only cycles every so often, so it doesn't go through the 100 gallons that often. In the last 3 or 4 years, they've been documenting on their O&M reports when they come for maintenance that the fuel is old, which was what was causing it to smoke. Because I guess we called them to come when they did service and check for the engine excessively smoking. And they documented the fact that the fuel was old, and there was never anything done for it. So the injector pump, what happened was, I guess, something in the injector pump seized, and it broke the keyway off on the shaft that spins the injector pump itself. So we had them, they took it off, they had somebody rebuild it, a pump manufacturer, I believe, from Northborough or Boston Pumps, rebuild that pump, the injector pump, and they rebuilt the injectors at the same time, just to make sure everything was good to go. Like I said, they sucked the old fuel out, put new fuel in, and did everything. So. There was the opportunity to, instead of rebuilding the pump, purchasing a new one, but it was probably 2 to 3 week lag time to get that versus rebuilding. And with that pump station, there's 3 other pump stations that feed into it. And this time of year with the weather, we didn't want to be down the pump station or renting the generator we had to back it up to make for those 3 weeks, so.
Just observation, pretty hefty repair.
I mean, the only other thing to go around it is to contract with a different company to do your generator repair if you're not satisfied with how they handled it. Unfortunately,
Sorry.
it is what it is. Not that we're stuck with it, but when we're in that situation, we need to do what we can do to get that generator back up and running, because you never know when you're gonna need it.
Don't disagree.
Can I ask a question, why this generator's only cycled once in a while, not weekly?
Well, it's cycled weekly.
The generator runs on a full load every Monday.
Okay.
So it's exercised weekly, half an hour.
But it-
All the pump station generators, they're all programmed for Monday runs for half an hour. It just doesn't consume 100 gallons of fuel.
No, as long as it's getting exercise.
Yes.
Yes.
And then the plant generator obviously is once a week, 40
Yep.
minutes full load.
Do you think we should consider putting into schedule the emptying of these tanks?
I think we should, if we have any inclination that there is this type of issue with the other pump station, Jess, we should go ahead and do that. Again, I haven't been here long enough to review all the O and M reports that we get in to see
Yeah.
this.
Yeah, yeah.
I know that when I asked them about this, to say, why wasn't this picked up when you just did the O and M on this generator in November? And they faxed over some documents where they showed that it was documented on previous invoices where somebody called them out because that generator smoked excessively when it was running. They documented the fact that they connected it to a pail of fuel, of clean fuel, let it run, and the smoke dissipated. But nothing was ever done. So that, you can see that water in the fuel, if there was moisture there and then it ran and sat in the injector pump, it could definitely be a reason why that injector pump seized up, broke the keyway on the shaft, and caused all the problems.
All right, so they came out and they bird dogged the smoking generator, I recall that specifically.
Yes.
In fact, we had neighbors call saying that generator
Smoked
had
excessively.
excessive smoke, and it was just that, not they were complaining about the smoke, they were complaining that, or at least giving us a heads up, there may be something wrong there. So they come out and made that determination, and we did nothing?
From what I can see with the paperwork, yes.
Yeah, boy,
Because again,
it's not good.
I don't have it with me, but it's
Yeah.
it's on one of their previous sheets where
Yeah.
they document the fact that the fuel is old.
Okay, I guess, and my other question is does that diesel pump business still exist in North Oxford?
Yes.
It does,
D&W diesel?
yeah.
Yes.
They didn't get any consideration going to them
They
instead
did.
of? Okay,
They weren't able to rebuild it in the same time frame. They could have purchased us a new one
yeah,
for less money. However, it was 2 to 3 weeks out. So we would have to rent the generator for a longer period of time, and it would have ended up costing us more money. And they didn't have the ability to rebuild in the quick time frame that the
Yeah,
company
yeah.
they found.
yeah, all right.
And because it's a generator, it takes a
Right.
specific injector pump, not something a normal diesel engine would take.
In today's time, I can't believe anything's 2 or 3 weeks out. I just can't believe that. But I know that's what they told you, Peter, and again,
And
I'm not shooting the messenger.
I called D&W myself,
Yeah,
and I asked, because I followed up on my own to try and make
Okay.
sure I was getting accurate information, and
Yeah.
it was consistent with what they were saying at Bigelow. And the problem is, don't forget, this is a 1999 generator.
okay,
So this injector pump isn't manufactured anymore because it's not used anymore on the newer models, like anything else, I guess.
okay,
So
all right,
it's a specifics, I forget, stand and dine pump for a generator only, to handle it fluctuates the idling of the generator differently because of the electric load. It's not a regular,
okay, it's almost like a
Injector
governor
pump,
on it or
yeah.
whatever because of
it's different
the
than
loads
what,
come and go,
yeah, it's different than what a backhoe would use,
right, yeah, okay.
so. You'd think it would be pretty easy, it's a 4 or
No,
6 cylinder
right,
cat
right,
engine,
right.
but that's not the case.
All right, okay. All right, again, it's just me, that's all.
Yeah.
All right, any other questions on the warrants here? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Passes unanimously.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 22nd, 2018.
Okay. Any discussion on those? All right, hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Was there a second?
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought he
Oh,
asked,
you need a second?
he asked for a second.
Second.
Okay, Alex with the second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye?
Aye.
I abstain, I wasn't there.
No, minutes.
February 12th.
They should be in the
It
packet.
was in February, don't you say?
Oh, the minutes themselves.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was January 22nd, and here's February 12th.
Yep. Okay,
We vote on that?
next.
Yeah, we did, okay. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to approve the minutes of February 12th, 2018, which is our last official meeting.
Okay. Second on that, please?
I'll second it.
Okay, we got a second. Do we have any comments, the minutes of February 12th? Hearing none, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Abstain.
passes. 3-1, abstention. Okay, and do we need to sign those?
Getting there.
Coming through, okay.
And Paul, there's that commitment report there as well from the billing, that last single page. Yeah, I put it was.
Okay. And we need all of us to sign the commitment,
Yes, please.
so it's all set. The commitment, and what we're talking about is this is the billing
Yes,
that was just done?
yes,
Okay.
Has the billing been mailed out yet?
today.
Today.
We
Okay.
sent it last week and they processed it and they were supposed to be mailing it out today.
And I'll be right with you, Jim. We got, just so that we know, the total amount of billing for this quarter, which was $294,647.07. And just so I'm correct on this, Peter, this is the period of time between November 29th and January 3rd.
October 4th or 5th approximately through January 3rd, yes.
Okay,
Those 3 months.
okay, I was looking at some names here of these abatements, which,
So-
okay, again, I see the 3rd, the October date, and I also see November date. Okay, so it's basically the quarter from October to January,
Yes,
which is, and that's a pretty heavy month because of the 2 holidays.
as far as MTA, as
Uh,
far as usage,
Right, yeah,
Yes.
because of Thanksgiving and
Mhm.
Christmas.
Mhm.
Okay, good enough. Jim, here you go.
Okay.
Mr. Chair, do you remember if we ever passed any motions as to the time frame for this billing? I mean, we're approaching 2 months now after the meters were read. I know we have to wait 3 weeks to get the bills in from Southbridge, but I didn't know if we had at one time made a motion to, have our billing done within 2 weeks after we received the money from South. Do you have any recollection of that?
Yes, I do. There was, when we were at or having our meetings at the treatment plant, I know that it was blocked out, or it was highlighted, when we called the drop dead dates. And that was on the wall. I'm sure, Steve could share that with you. But I think we're within the range.
I don't know, I do remember
Right.
we passed a motion that the bills must be read within the first 10 days after the first of the month or something like that. And for the most part, that's been done ever since
Right.
that time, but I thought 2 months seems like a long time. People are waiting for their bills and they're not coming and they don't know how to budget for it, especially this particular bill that has an increase in it. People wanna know, and I just kinda thought that, we got a new meter that reads in 2 hours. What good does that do if we still don't get the bills out for 2 weeks later than they should be out?
I think one of the, just, Peter can back this up, I'm not sure, is I know one of the things that is a time consideration, is the Southbridge Water Department submitting
that's
their
usually-
information to us.
Usually within 3 weeks we get that.
So I believe we got that at the end of January, beginning of February. And then
Okay.
we have to take that information to create the abatements, which you guys approved at your last meeting. After you approve the abatements, we have to send that to the tax collector so they can document those abatements, make the bills, make those accounts reflect the abatement, so what we bill is correct. So the process is the process. The only way we could have gone any quicker is if we didn't have to wait for the commission to go ahead and, approve the abatements. That was, between waiting for Southbridge, and I mean, to input their data only took less than a day. And then to wait and have the abatements approved, and then have the tax collector input those abatements, and then go ahead and set it up to be
You could
mailed out.
wait 2 weeks, essentially up to 2 weeks for us to approve the abatements then.
I think that's the timing, that's probably one of the bigger timing issues that happened. The way it fell this time is you met January 22nd, and there was 3 weeks before your next meeting, I believe.
And wasn't there one regular meeting where we didn't have a quorum, and we didn't have the meeting?
I think the extra meeting we tried to add, you didn't have a quorum.
Okay.
That didn't have
Okay,
anything to
just-
do with it.
right.
So I think that 3 weeks, that extra week in between those two threw us off a little bit, but, I mean, again, it's, the only way to make it quicker would be for you guys to maybe set up another meeting as soon as we get the Southbridge information to go ahead and approve the abatements.
Okay,
What?
maybe you could research this, Peter, whether or not the abatement vote needs to be taken at an open meeting,
Okay.
or if in fact the abatement, yeah, that's, I guess, if it needs to take place at an open meeting, as far as, bringing it to a vote and then, going from there.
Sure.
Because that would certainly shorten things up. And 90% of the abatements are coming from our regular billing and 10% from the Southbridge readings, or
No, it's about 50/50.
it's about 50/50?
Yes.
So no matter what, we still have to wait for the Southbridge meetings.
Yes.
All right, so I guess if there's a way of us accelerating the abatement process, then that would help to bring down this time.
That's about the only thing that I see that kind of had a lag in the process, because once we got the information, we were ready and we jumped on it, but then it's kind of hurry up and wait, and hurry up and wait, and
Yep.
so,
Okay.
Okay, good enough. Schedule appointment at 6:40, we're 10 minutes late. Okay. You're up. Yeah. Viola,
Good evening.
report? Yes.
This is the monthly operating report for January 2018. Under the health and safety, there were no accidents or safety incidents. The monthly checklist was completed. January's monthly safety training was provided by J.J. Keller online. It's an interactive course, and it was on hazardous communications, what you need to know. And under compliance, there were no NPDES permit exceedances in the month of January, and I've attached the plant performance report. The operation and maintenance activities at the wastewater treatment plant, the weekly and monthly maintenance checklist was completed. A weekly generator full load exercise was completed with no issues. And all preventative maintenance work orders were completed. Again, as we have the inclement weather, we had snow removal at the treatment plant and the pump stations. The drive belts were replaced on RBCs number 3 and number 10. And EDS Mechanical Services was called in to troubleshoot no heat in the front office and the lab. It was determined that the new blower motor, that was replaced in December had failed and was replaced under warranty, so there was no cost there. And the monthly critical alarm tests were completed with no issues. And we had a high flow alarm and high EQ tank levels on January 12th caused by a rain event. The rainfall was 0.81 inches along with the heavy snow melt. And then we had the Headworks Building sump pit high level alarm. The float switch on the pump was stuck, so the alarm was tested, it was fine. And we also had another high flow alarm on January 23rd, which was caused by a rain event. The rainfall total was 0.73 inches. And under the pump station activities, all pump station alarm tests were completed. Pump station weekly full load generator tests were completed. On January 23rd, the North Main Street pump station generator failed to start during the weekly full load tests. Bigelow Electric was called in to troubleshoot and determined the injector pump seized up. The generator was installed in 1999 and has 728 hours of runtime on it. Rain for Rent provided a portable standby generator while repairs were made to the pump station generator. Now in regards to that, the smoke, the black smoke that was there from the fuel, that was the first I had heard of that situation, was when they came out and did the service in December. So I was unaware of that there was black smoke coming from the generator when it ran. So it is a good point to go out and schedule a setup to have the remaining tanks sucked out and fresh fuel with additive put in them. So that'll be the next step in regards to that. And as Peter was saying, that pump is specific to that model generator. It's just designed for that, like you said, for the electrical, so it's not an interchangeable. They don't stock them on the shelf because it's specific to that type of generator. And we have Old Worcester Road and Vine Street had the same type of generator and the same type of fuel pump. So, just to make you aware of that.
All right, while we're on that subject,
Yes, sir.
the generator that's down the plant, sitting in the garage in the corner,
Yes, sir.
okay, and that generator came from,
I believe
Muggett
I was
Hill.
told Muggett Hill is where that
Right.
came from.
and it should be the same vintage generator as
Okay.
those. That's my question. Is it the same
I can
vintage?
follow up. That generator's been in storage since we came online over there. So I have no idea. The generator was
Yeah,
talked
so
about
this-
being,
This where your part was.
it was talked
possibly.
about being put back at Muggett Hill, or it was gonna be put on a portable generator. That's all
No,
the
the talk was,
information
again, it
was.
was going to be put on a portable,
But I can
put on a
follow up to
platform,
check the model,
become
make and
portable.
model.
that would be good to know
Yes,
if in
absolutely.
fact we needed a quick standby.
The MTAs was sampled on January 1st and January 24th. On the collection systems activity, we had a grinder pump call on January 2nd at 110 Glen Echo Shore Drive for a high-level alarm. The pump on float switch was weighted down with debris and could not turn the pump on. The debris was removed from the wet well and the system tested no issues. And this was an upgraded system. On January 3rd, we had a grinder pump call at 87 Sunset Drive for a high-level alarm. The wet well was full of debris, wipes, grease, etc. The debris was removed and the system tested no issues. And this also was an upgraded system. And on January 4th, we had a grinder pump call at 35 Sunset Drive. It was a high-level alarm. The breaker was tripped. The breaker was reset, the system was tested with no issues, and that was an original equipment system. And on January 12th, we had a grinder pump call at 220 Sunset Drive for a high-level alarm. The wet well level was low, but had large amounts of soap suds causing a false high-level alarm. Soap suds were hosed down, the system was tested, no issues, and this was also an original equipment system. On January 20th, we had a grinder pump call at 126 Osgood Road for a high-level alarm. The pump was clogged with debris, the debris was removed, system tested, and there were no issues found. This also was an original equipment system. And on January 22nd, we had a grinder pump call at 42 Lakeview Drive. The homeowner could hear a clicking noise and the lights in the house would flicker when the pump turned on. The grinder pump system was checked and we found no issues, so the homeowner was going to call an electrician to have their systems checked at their house. And we marked out 5 dig safes for the month of January.
Keith, are any of these issues, incidences where we bill the customer, or is it all something that we took care of at our expense, or your expense?
What I do is we take care of it and then I let Steve know on the debris that we find, and then from there it gets taken care of.
When you're going excessive soap suds, and that's something that wouldn't be our responsibility.
No,
There
absolutely
might have
not.
been more
That's
to it
correct.
than just the soap suds.
Yes,
And I think aren't they giving one free,
that's my
freebie
understanding,
before,
yes.
yeah, is that per year? Or in all, before we do any billing anyway, so,
I'll follow up on that, sir. with
yeah,
Steve.
okay.
Yes, absolutely.
Questions?
That was mine. I said that was my question.
I will get the answer, absolutely.
All right, thanks,
Um,
Keith.
Yes, sir.
Keith, how often when the servicemen go to a service call, is it just that all they do is reset the breaker? Does that happen often?
No, not that often at all.
Okay,
No, the newer systems, we haven't had any breakers tripping. It seems to be the older style when it has a breaker system inside the house and on the external.
right.
So that's all I've seen. We haven't had that many, no.
As far as the simple repair is just to reset the breaker?
Right.
Okay.
I can go back through the records there.
Yeah, no, and I guess the other one, is, when they do a service call, in, for instance, at this last one on Lakeview Drive, and the lights were blinking, do they actually get the amp meter out and check the voltage draw when the pump comes on? Do they go that far?
No,
They don't.
we can add that to it. That was it was a upgrade that was, excuse me, wait a minute.
It'd be your next.
Yeah, I would have to confirm that.
Yeah, I get it.
I don't go to the
It's
service
just-
calls
I get it.
myself. No, those are great points,
I've had too
absolutely.
many nightmares with, you know, when things get ready to go, one of the things that happens is they end up drawing more electricity
Right,
than
on
they
one
should be.
leg or all of them.
You're right, and that's where the lights would flicker, and it's kinda like it's kinda like, you know, before the storm comes, but it is a signal. So, okay, all right. And those rain events were just, huge amount of water coming in.
That's correct, yes. Yes, we just, it'll be in next month's report, but the one we just had on February 11th and 12th, we had a spike of 1 MGD coming in the plant
Yeah.
for 40 minutes. And then
Okay.
we continued with spikes off and on for the next 3 hours after that at .7, .8.
Right,
And the EQ tank levels reached 8.84 feet, and they're 10 feet deep, and we had 6 pumps going, so quite the flow coming into the
yeah,
treatment
I know
plant.
we have spoken this before, but when those events happen, that is the ideal time to have a team go out and start popping covers and saying, where's all this
Middle of
flow
a
from?"
rainstorm, it's about the most unsafe time to send a
Well,
crew out on
again,
the road.
it's the, I know that we've had a situation down in Charlton City where it actually blew a cover off. But in order to find where this inflow is coming from.
Right.
I really think something ought to be done during these event times to get a good understanding of where the flow is coming from.
Right, and
And
that's
also-
where the I&I program's gonna come into.
Well, the I&I program, it doesn't help us in August. You know, when the sun's shining and it's been dry for the last 3 weeks. Because we don't have these problems in August. We have them in the wet season. We have them when the event happens. I guess, Keith, when this, as far as when a rain event happens, is there a peak time as far as the flow goes?
It all depends on what time the rain starts.
Oh,
If it starts at 7 in the morning, you're gonna see it by noon time. It's about a
Okay,
6-hour time.
there you go,
frame.
that's what I'm looking for, so it's about a 6-hour swing.
That's correct.
And then what it does, then it slowly tails off of that?
Right,
Okay.
but
so-
it can take a day sometimes to
Okay,
come back
okay.
down.
And
It stays at a high level for a
All
while.
right, and taking Mr. McKenzie's safety concern, which, again, you men are always safe,
Yes,
or attempt to be safe. So you could get the same results 12 hours after an event as far as the flows go, to where you would say is, that's abnormal when you pop a cover. So I guess what I'm getting at, we talked about it before, is I really think we need to do something as far as having a process or a team in place to, whether it be laymen or whether it be people from Viola that we call in and say, now we need you to do this as part of our I&I program.
right. That was part of what Paul Rodman's gonna come up and take care of. We were waiting for the approval, and he was gonna come up during the, wet climate situations here, and he was gonna set up the flow meters and all that to determine
Yeah.
where it was coming in.
You know, again, I think all that's good, but I really think what's best is when you have an event, is that at some point in time, when it's safe, is that you go out and have people pop covers to find out where this is coming from. Because you know, obviously, there's something somewhere that's causing 3 to 4 times our daily flow
Correct.
to happen within
Right.
a 24-hour period. And that's not coming from someone's sump pump.
There's multiple things. It
Well,
could be,
no, right,
could be
exactly.
roof drains that are tied in.
Yeah,
I've
it-
seen
right.
situations where you actually had storm drains that were
Yeah,
tied in.
Yeah, I think
So
there's
figure
something
a
going
10-inch
on.
concrete pipe coming out of a storm
Right.
drain is gonna assist you
Yeah.
with high flows.
So, now, so that's in the works, Peter?
Yes, and the whole plan is for, again, we approved the study already. He's supposed to get the GIS mapping of the system done
Yeah,
so that we can figure out where to put the flow monitors in place to happen for 4 to 8 weeks, I believe, in March and April, when the wet season comes. So he's planning on getting that done and doing the flow monitoring during
Alright.
the spring season. That's the intent.
in some of these areas, you better have them tied down pretty good. As far as these numbers go, because we've seen these numbers, I know as long as I've been here, when there's an event, it goes up to 1M.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's what we had on February 11th,
Yeah.
12th. We peaked at 1 million for 40 minutes straight coming into the
Well-
treatment plant.
So a flow rate that would equal 1 MGD if it kept up,
Right.
or you hit at 1 MGD?
No, we hit 1 MGD for 40 minutes straight coming into the treatment plant.
Yeah, the rate, as Alex
Correct.
said, the
The
rate.
Yeah,
flow
yeah,
rate-
the rate.
Yeah.
The flow rate's 694.45 gallons per
Right.
minute, so it's an additional call it 28,000 gallons.
Right.
Okay. Just so it's clear on what you're figuring.
Good. Any other questions, concerns from Keith? All right, Keith, thank you, keep up the good
Thank
work
you very
down there.
much. Have a good evening.
Thank you.
Okay. All right, new business. Public water supply well, Buffalo. Bill,
Yep.
what do you got on that, Peter?
So we got the okay from the property owner. If you go to the section in the packet, there's a map attached. Alex, there should be a map attached in that as well.
Can you pass that down, I'll show
No,
it.
you don't have your own. You should have one.
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
I thought, I mean, here's some of it. Oh, no, I
No,
didn't.
he has one. So in the process of looking at developing the public water supply well in Buffinville, the initial wells that were drilled in that area. Just wait for Paul to get there. One of the wells that were proposed for development was the one that was within the floodplain, and it had high levels of aluminum and iron and manganese that would need treatment. And another well that was drilled had, which was probably the best well, has the petroleum pipeline within its 400-foot radius. So in looking at what was there, we identified this privately owned parcel of property that does have an easement already from the Army Corps of Engineers. And it also has, if you look at the elevation contours, a couple of high spots on it, that we can locate a couple of possible public water supply wells that are above the flood inundation zone or the flood level of Buffinville.
Peter, help me out here, excuse me, just help me out on this map. Where,
I think we're talking this one, but.
you've got two
Talking the
red
one to
dots
the
on
right?
there.
Yes.
Are these red dots of the wells that were drilled?
No, these are the proposed locations.
These are the proposed locations. And both of these locations are outside the floodplain,
Are above
above,
the elevation, is
above the
floodplain.
elevation.
Yes.
Okay, and I'm looking at this to where, I would have to say, is north where my
Yes.
left hand is?
If you turn it 90 degrees, yes.
This is north.
Yep.
Okay, so the red dot closest to the north end is the one that you're saying, is the one that's closest to the, it would be the transmission line, for the gas transmission line.
Petroleum pipeline?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you can see the bare spot of, like, trees, there's that line in the trees right above the circle.
Yeah,
Goes
right
at an
above here?
angle. No, right above the yellow circle.
Oh, right there,
Yes.
okay.
That's where the pipeline is. That's where their easement is. So
And
it
this-
goes at that angle, and then it goes straight across to where you can see the bare,
Yeah.
goes across the water to where you can see the bare property again and their easement to get up and through.
Okay, so in this red dot represents how many feet away from the pipeline?
Over 400 feet.
That's over 400
The yellow
feet.
circle's a 400-foot radius.
Okay,
Explain again now how, this is on the far side of the lake as far as we're sitting here now, how we're gonna get the, if we're successful with one of
Yes.
these wells, how are we gonna get the water back across the lake or around, or how's it gonna get to where we need it?
Initial proposal would be the directional drill under the lake, just like the pipeline did,
Oh, okay,
and follow kind of that same route, and come out onto AF Putnam Road and head out to Oxford Road.
okay, I didn't know if it was possible to go under the lake. or-
Yeah, that's how the pipeline, and they did that back in the 80s.
Yeah,
So if they could do it then, I would hope we could do it now. So, that's the initial plan, if we get that far. Initially, where we're at now is, I've talked to the landowner. He's verbally agreed to, he has a copy of this plan. He's okay with us going onto his property and doing some test wells to see if there's actually even water available at these sites. I've talked to the DEP. They're willing to meet with us and take a quick look at this. I've talked to the Army Corps of Engineers, and I have a meeting set up on Wednesday, this Wednesday at 1:30, in Worcester to meet with the DEP, the Army Corps of Engineers, Beta, and Beta might bring one of their consultants in that does the test drilling, just to kind of see what's going on. So hopefully between the DEP and the Army Corps of Engineers, they can look at this and say, you know, maybe if there's any quick red flags that come up, they'll let us know before we start doing too much work and wasting time. But if they initially bless it, what I'd like to do is start working on a draft agreement with the landowner to allow us an access to get on the property and start drilling these test wells. We do have approximately $90,000 left of the $200,000 grant that's not committed to anything that we could use to do this work with. And this work does fall under the scope of that grant. So, if everything goes well, we'll be trying to get this test exploration done this spring before the June 30th deadline of the funding from the grant.
okay, sounds good. And now, and to the right of that, Peter, this is the one that, the site has problems as far as the water quality? Is that what you're?
No, the site that was closest to this was the best well that they've had, but the petroleum pipeline was in the 400-foot radius, and it was in the flood zone. The one that they were proposing, that Ty and Bond did the original proposal for, was northwest, just off of AF Putnam Road near the
Yep.
causeway. That's where that well 30-06 was that they slated, that they
Okay.
worked on for development. The well 7-05 that they drilled before, in 2005, that showed about 370,000 gallons a day. Initial test showed no treatment needed except for corrosion control, is right on the edge of the corner of this property, so we're probably only a few hundred feet away. But we're outside the flood inundation, and our zone one radius does not overlap the pipeline. So,
And this well location, in all of the 400 feet is out of, well, it has to be
No.
in the Army Corps of
the only,
Engineers.
the only
easement.
area, the wellhead itself has to be outside the flood inundation zone, so that it gets us away from the surface, groundwater under the influence of surface water.
Okay, but where this location of the well is this out of the easement that the Army Corps has?
I'm not exactly sure where the easement goes from the Army Corps.
Okay. And their easement usually follows a topographical line.
I don't know how their easement's written. I don't know if
Okay.
it's an easement, a permanent easement for the entire parcel, or if they actually documented it enough to show we only need an easement for this certain portion of the property.
Okay.
Can't we just get a temporary construction easement either way, just throw a rig out there or whatever?
Yes. The only concern is, I had one initial conversation with the homeowner where, not to take two things too far, but the land is worth what the land is worth, and whether or not we want to try and identify the cost of that land before we start drilling, so that we're not arguing the fact after if we find a possible water supply there. And again, fair is fair, and the land's worth what it's worth now, but I don't think the lender's gonna sell it to us for that price right now, knowing that what the possibility is, so. That's kind of the big question that I don't know if you wanna try and incorporate that, some type of mechanism into our initial easement agreement that talks about value of the property, so that if we do find these wells produce enough water and that we can develop them, that we already have a price established, so that we don't have to worry about negotiating that after.
Be good if we could.
Again, it was kicked around, and again, I met with him once and talked to him once or twice on the phone. Initial conversation was, would we wanna lease it and do an annual lease, and that didn't seem to make a lot of sense to me, because then you have to renew the lease and a lot of things can change. The Army Corps, I believe, has a permanent easement, so it's a one-time easement in perpetuity. We could try and do something like that and just purchase a one-time payment for a permanent easement on the property. Or, the way the property's made up, we could draw a property line that gives him, we take the portion where these two well sites might be, and he keeps the remaining, and we just do a straight purchase.
Would still need
That's the
access, though,
cleanest way.
Peter.
We can have access from the Army Corps' road that comes in off the south side of the spillway. Would kind of be the best way to access it.
Okay.
That, I believe that's how they got access to drill that well, is,
So they're
7-05.
coming in from the left here and coming right down.
Yeah, it's actually below, south of the spillway, there's a road coming in off of Gale Road. So Gale Road ends to the north, and you'll see there's a little pathway that gets us to a little tract of land that gives us access.
Oh, yeah. That little thin path right there?
Um,
No. All right, that's something that,
No, but
we'll deal with it.
I think that'd be the best way to get access.
All right, so there's no need to come in from the opposite end?
Nope.
Okay.
So, my plan is to go to the meeting on Wednesday, talk to DEP, Army Corps, the engineers, and make sure there's no glaring issues. And if not, I'll start working on, if there's no objection, I'll start working with council on drawing up an easement with the property owner.
Do you think that there was absolutely no reason to invite Ty and Bond to this Wednesday meeting? I don't know, but it seems they've been getting involved with other stuff, and since they did work here in the past, I mean, it's not my call certainly, but I'm just asking the question.
I think Beta's capable and has the ability to go with us through this process, and we already have, if this starts to move forward, we can just do an addendum, an amendment to their current agreement for them to continue these scopes of services, or these additional services to move forward in a timely manner, so we don't lose time having to do an RFP and spend 30 or 60 days waiting for proposals to get somebody else involved, but, again, in my help, I mean, Beta's the one that drew up this map already. They're very responsive, and They're very familiar with what needs to be done to do this, so and it might be different to maybe have a fresh set of eyes on it as well. I think Ty and Bond did our study in '03 and again our study in '05, so maybe a fresh set of eyes might not be a bad thing.
I don't think Ty and Bond's the company we wanna stay with at this point.
So, moving forward, is there any objection to me, talking to if Wednesday goes well, is there any objection to me talking to council about working on that easement to present to you?
Just so I understand, and for clarity, is, we'd be asking for an easement to go on the property and do testing?
Yes.
Okay, so we don't have his permission yet to do that, do we?
Verbal,
Okay,
he said he'd be okay with that.
Okay.
But I haven't spent any time, I want to get through the DEP and the Army
Right,
Corps
yep, yep.
before I take that next step and start spending money on council
Oh, okay,
or.
so
or
depending
doing-
how things go Wednesday, if
Yes.
everything looks clear,
Yes,
then by all means, we'd have to get some
start
type
working
of,
with council, yep.
yeah, well,
So
how about a
there's no-
beginning and end real quick, like it's in drawer 4, you know? Jim, pull it out of the drawer.
Oh, and that was my second question, which
Yeah.
council do you want me to use?
Whatever
No,
one
I'm
has
not
it
trying
already
to
in their
complicate
drawer.
it, but,
Yeah, yeah.
okay. Great, so that's where we are on that. Hopefully we'll have a good outcome, and I'll be talking about this at our next meeting.
Okay, number 2, WS Facebook page.
So with all the projects we have going on with, the easiest way to share information with the public is social media. I wasn't sure if the board had any, thoughts about creating our own Facebook page, so that when these construction projects are going on and we have new information to share, we can just do a post and it'll be out there ready for them immediately. I talked to Lisa Westwell about putting information up on the website, and she said that would be fine. We could do a link on our page, but that's not really as accessible as something like Facebook, where at the beginning of the construction and at the end, we put a sign up that says for up-to-date information, like our Facebook page. We create the Facebook page. Sue said she'd be willing to be the facilitator of it, and that way there we keep accurate, up-to-date information and just share posts so that information is there and ready for the people who wanna follow it.
You gotta make sure you stay on top of it though for, traffic management plans and
Mhm.
how that changes and morphs
Yep.
day to day. It works.
Do you guys have one?
No page, sorry.
No.
No, I mean, no, I'm talking about myself, you know, if the commission wants to do that, fine.
So,
If they think
Would
that's the
people be
best
able to
spot.
post comments?
yeah, I don't think we can stop them from posting comments. Like any other Facebook page, I don't think you can especially where this, you'd wanna attract as many people as possible, so you get as much information out
America,
there.
everybody has the right to do whatever they want.
Right, I'm just saying,
To a point.
if somebody starts like going off about,
So let them go on.
okay,
What's it hurt?
I was asking the question.
I don't think there's a way to, unless they're truly negative and you can,
Ask them to be removed.
yes,
I'll ask the guru afterwards.
yes.
I'm, again, not being familiar, but if you're gonna post something on Facebook, couldn't you just post, if someone's interested, go to the water and sewer
This
website,
is our website, we could,
and then that'll be the link. And then we just put everything on our website. Then you won't get all this stuff.
Yeah, but Facebook, it ends up being more real time for traffic, changing traffic patterns or what's going on with work zones and stuff like that.
And Alex, that would be up to our facilitator, who has already come forward, I'm sure, probably for a fee of making sure that our information is up to date.
Who's the
I don't
facilitator?
follow.
With Lisa Westwell?
Again, in order to get, there's probably, ease of access, Facebook has ease of access. We put a post and it goes out, and if people are following that page, it gives them a message that there's new information, so it's there, it's ready for them to see it. You put information on the website, if they don't go there, look, and
Right.
go through 3 or 4 different tabs, they're not gonna get to it. And
So
it's,
the people that like the Facebook page, they're gonna share it with other people, say in their neighborhood that they know aren't somebody like yourself that doesn't do Facebook. So they'll send you a text or whatever.
And again, it's also for other instances that might come up where we wanna share information with the public, it's just, again, unfortunately, the town doesn't have a town-wide Facebook page. Police has their own, fire has their own, there's a couple other small places that might have their own, so. We could possibly piggyback with police, but then again, that we have to make sure the person who facilitates the police is available to make the changes,
What
or
about the happenings?
we could send that to them. But again, it's relying on somebody else to kind of present that
They're
information.
pretty
They,
good
they
about
are pretty
posting
on
stuff.
top of things, so I guess,
They've got a good base, I think they're
I think-
3,700.
no, they have a great base. I guess if the vote of the commission is to not do this, then it would be do our own link on our website, and every time we make a change, then get in touch with whoever does
Right.
the Charlton happenings and provide them the same information real time, so they could put that out there for the people. I was just, again, this is just something I thought of, and if the board doesn't have an appetite for it, then that's fine.
Can I ask a question? What's the happenings?
The Charlton, I forget the name of it, does Charlton Happenings?
It's another Facebook page that puts out,
I don't even know who runs it.
pretty current data on what's happening in the town.
Yeah.
Yes.
But
I've-
it's
Is
a good,
it-
it's a wide, I think there's 3,700 followers on it.
Is it all accurate?
Yeah.
I don't know, depends, I guess what you believe is
Yeah.
accurate.
Yeah.
I have no problem with the Facebook page, and once it's up, it's like nothing to maintain it. And it's free.
Okay. IMA?
Anyways, okay, so we're not gonna do the Facebook page.
Well, I just don't, I mean.
I'll make a
I don't
motion.
hear
Unless
any
somebody
speaking.
makes a motion, I'm not gonna do
Oh.
it, so if you guys want this to be done, then if someone could make a motion to create the Facebook page, then.
I'll make a motion to create some kind of construction Facebook. I don't know through which venue, Pete.
I just do, my recommendation would be a Charlton Water Sewer Facebook page, and
Just
then
create a page for
a
us.
page for us, and then mainly use it for traffic, but also use it for whatever else might come up. Maybe let people know, again, senior abatements are available and they're due, just anything that happens throughout the year, or any big thing, any information we wanna share with the public, just,
All right, I'll
put
make
it
a
out there.
motion that we make our own water and sewer Facebook page
Sec-
through Lisa Westwell.
I think we do it on our own, I don't
We
even
do
have
it
to
on our
use
own,
Lisa.
then we make it on our own.
Second.
Okay. Got any discussion?
It's also on Facebook all the time.
Messaging Rob.
My wife's the Facebook person in our house, so.
Okay, we got a motion on the floor, got a second? No more discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'll abstain. I don't have an opinion.
I'll
go
abstain.
I'll go with the floor.
Passes 2-0.
2-0, okay.
No,
He didn't say no.
the majority is 3.
But if to abstain, then the majority is 2, and 2's the majority,
Okay.
right?
I don't know. You still abstaining?
We count as 0 if we abstain, right?
Yeah, but no, we have a majority, first of all, we have a quorum. All right, and the majority of the quorum voted yes.
Okay.
Tell me different.
The majority of the people present here is 3, not 2. Just because you two abstain, it's still only 2-4, not 3, not 3-4.
Yeah, but it's not a tie, it's not, there's no vote against.
Again,
All right, didn't pass, why don't we, why
I'll
don't
look
we?
it up and verify it,
Yeah.
unless you wanna do it now.
Let's
Yeah,
see.
yeah, I think you're right, Peter. Yeah,
I'll have to verify it, but
okay, moving on. Southbridge IMA payment.
Yeah.
Where is it?
it's here.
Yeah.
They sent us the check.
Okay, which check is this?
The check for
2017, 2016?
2016.
2016,
Yeah.
okay. We're in 2018,
We only have control over our finances.
okay. Let's give you a
So-
report, Mr.
So,
Superintendent.
we,
Peter, when you say 2016, do you mean the actual calendar year 2016?
no,
Or do you mean the fiscal year that the state and the
This
town goes on?
this is fiscal year, so this is
This
July 1st, 2015 to
Okay,
June 30th, 2016.
Okay.
So like Mr. Leminski said, it's
Yeah, already.
kind of a year behind. However, part of this payment is based on Southbridge's retained earnings for water. And their retained earnings, they get them certified when they get them certified. And I'm not sure when their FY 2017 certified retained earnings were certified, but they can't issue this payment until that is, so. Right now, this is our payment for FY 2016, with all the backup documentation of how they came up with it and how they created that payment. It's all right here in these pages.
Okay, and do we have those pages?
Yes,
You
you do.
do,
Yeah.
We do.
of course. So the check is here and it's deposited into one of our revenue accounts that the finance director told us.
And how
told
much
me
is
to
that
put it
check
in.
for, Peter?
$44,060.96.
44,000?
Yeah.
And how does that compare with okay, I got it right here, $44,060.96. How does that compare with the prior years?
I'm not sure what the prior years were.
I don't remember one of them being 39.
I believe this is probably only your second payment, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know when this IMA was penciled
It's
in,
only a second check, Rob.
so you probably had the
I
FY
thought we got
fifteen
a check
payment.
real soon. I thought we got a check fairly quickly.
I think they might have given you an initial payment that was referenced in the IMA, and then your first payment
But
came
this
as
is
FY
our, only our
fifteen.
second payment after that point.
Okay, okay. But the initial payment was for past sales?
Yeah, I'm not exactly sure. I just remember reading it, actually, there's actually a copy of the IMA documentation in here.
So the actual FY 16 annual earnings of that enterprise account was the $529,650.
Yes,
And the contract calls for 8%.
8.5%.
Excuse me, 8.5, give the 45,000.
And on the next page, it shows you how they came up with that 8.5%.
All right,
following the
okay.
IMA.
And do we have a list of the $959 in payments?
Yes,
Okay, and has that been looked at by assessors as far as what we can attach?
the tax collector is attaching liens to those properties at this time.
Okay, all right, and, good enough. And just to be clear, that, yeah, the $959 was, or is the amount that's, the tax collector's gonna be attaching?
Yes.
Okay.
So our tax collector has been working with their finance people over there on that amount and what she needs to do to process those liens.
Do those, that lien needs to be recorded?
Yes. I believe so.
Okay, so it's not,
It's a municipal lien.
it's a municipal lien, right, but is it $75 per?
Sure.
Okay, but if you owe back taxes, when someone goes and does a certificate of municipal liens, there's not an actual lien recorded at the courthouse for back taxes, unless it gets to such a point, then they end up recording it.
I'll
Actually, they
ask.
record the taking. All I'm trying to do is saying, look, if someone owes us $39, it seems crazy to pay $75 to put the lien on the property, when in
Right.
fact, we can put the lien in the property relative to the certificate of municipal liens here in town, which would almost work to the same effect if someone was gonna go and transfer the property.
I'll verify with Joanne if that's
And
what she
also
does.
would work the same effect if someone was to try to pull a building permit,
Mhm.
that when they went to the assessor's office, it would show up, rather than, again, the courthouse. Just check it out. I'm probably all wet on that, but,
No, I think what you're saying sounds accurate, and I'll just double check with her to see if
okay.
which avenue she takes.
Peter, offhand, do you know how many properties this total including?
I do not.
Okay.
I'm gonna guess 2 or 3.
Oh, that's all?
It's only $900, so.
Well, I know, but, you
In
know,
order to get, the average invoice is $130 a quarter, so.
yeah, yeah,
For them to go that far to be in default for over a year,
yeah,
yeah, it's,
okay. any questions on the, IMA payment? Well, set, and now, Peter, where is that money exactly going? What account?
Into our water revenue account, so
Our
it's gonna
water-
show up as revenue, so it'll be there
In
for
general-
retained
General
earnings.
water revenue account?
Yes,
It's the only water, it's the only
I
revenue
believe
that
we
we
only
have.
have one, yes.
Everyone all set? Questions? Good. All right, old business, TEP INI analysis extension.
So I just wanted to bring you up to speed that we applied to the DEP for an extension on this, and the way it was worded in our initial request, it was for the scope of work was for 2 years. And, the gentleman at DEP said they're only giving out 1-year extensions as of right now. So what I did was I forwarded him a copy of, the submittal that Veolia gave us, a copy of the minutes and the motion that was made, giving Veolia the permission to do the GIS mapping and the flow monitoring, and also create the sewer system evaluation survey, and I requested a 1-year extension, and that 1-year extension has been granted. His letter granting the extension is included, so we have the extension, we're currently doing okay. Hopefully Paul Rodman from Veolia will be out here soon, getting that GIS mapping done, getting that flow monitoring stuff squared away, so that we can hopefully definitely get a better handle of where this INI is coming from. Unfortunately, it's nothing new. You read back through the minutes and it pops up all the way back to 2002, 3, 4. So I'm hoping we can finally get a good handle on it and try and come up with something to solve the problem, so we're not dealing with this. So again, this was just here, mostly just give you an update, and
That was a pretty quick response, 4 days.
yeah,
Good job.
he's been very responsive. Call him on the phone, he's willing
Yep.
to talk and share information, so.
Check. Okay, old business, number 2, water privilege fee.
Yes. So we tried to set them, this meeting seemed a little light, so I thought rather than leaving early, we could maybe talk about the water privilege fee if you guys were interested. I've sent you guys some information on this before. It seems like a motion to implement a water privilege fee was made in October of 2014. The minutes of that meeting don't accurately reflect the motion that was made. After reviewing the video footage of that meeting, I kind of transcribed the actual motion that was made and seconded and actually approved. So moving forward, a lot's changed since that motion was made. That motion that was made to talk about privilege fees referenced the betterment process and the betterment process amount. As of now, we have 0 betterments. So I'm not sure, even though this water privilege fee was voted and implemented, it's never been used or charged to anybody. So I just kinda wanna see what the board wants to do, whether they want to, if they wanna continue the same way, I'd recommend that they reconsider and make another motion that we can document in the minutes, and then create a process to charge the privilege fees. If you wanna think about doing things differently because the privilege fee references betterment, which are no longer, we can talk about doing something like Southbridge does, where they just charge a larger connection fee, because they don't have a privilege fee, and I don't believe there was many betterments charged when they did their water line. So there's a couple different ways we can move forward with it. I just wanted to kinda present it and see which you guys had for thoughts, and which way you wanna start to move forward. It's not something we have to get through and decide on tonight, but if I could get a little bit of direction, I'll get that moving. I can kinda get that ball rolling to come up with a good way to put this, be able to put this to use.
Okay, I know for myself, that I firmly believe we have a privilege fee in place. And I also believe that because of the lack of our office, there are properties who should have been issued a bill for a privilege fee. And those properties would have been west on Route 20,
Upland Farms.
Upland Farms for one. And if you look at the minutes of those meetings that we had with them, they were fully aware that the privilege fee would be coming. I know there was a connection made on the north side of Route 20 that should have been issued a privilege fee, right around the Zolba area. And then also, the brewery should have been issued a privilege fee. And the amount of that privilege fee was, that we passed at the meeting.
What year?
At the meeting, I believe it was, it was,
October sixth, 2014.
Well, I just
yeah,
wanted to
I was.
clarify if we're talking about
Yeah,
the
yeah.
meeting. or
Right, in
Ron's
fact, I
actual
think,
meeting.
I think the meeting was here, I'm not mistaken. Again, I'm not 100% sure, but I know that we had the meeting, and I know that we had discussed it and gone over for considerable length. I know our minutes didn't reflect it, but the recording certainly did. And that what we were doing was, we were saying is that the estimated fee, or the fee that we passed, which was the $2,447.60, was an estimate at that time, and it was not to, I believe, it was not to exceed $4,894.32. So I think at this time, the only thing that's up for discussion is what is the amount that we are going to charge. Now, the betterments that, which is different from a privilege fee, the betterments that were charged to those, was it 139 properties or
I don't know the
180
exact-
properties?
I don't know the exact number.
Okay. And those properties have been, or in the process of being reimbursed,
Yes.
because those properties were determined that they were affected by the ExxonMobil agreement. Or the area that they were in was affected by the ExxonMobil agreement. Because most of those properties are in the school loop. Some of them are on Route 20, some of them are on Stafford Street. So,
But again, ExxonMobil paid off the entire project cost. So now there's no method to move forward to assess betterments to anybody else.
okay, and, no, and I agree. The thing is we have to be clear on definitions. The definition of a privilege fee is not the same as a betterment.
Correct, but
A
your
privilege
privilege,
fee comes after the fact, or when someone comes in after the fact and saying, hey, either you missed me, or at the time, it wasn't intended, I wanna join your system. So to join the system is where the privilege fee then comes into play, which, at this point in time, the base of that, which represents 50% of a, no more than 50% of $4,894.32, which is $2,447.16, is the base privilege fee at this time. It has nothing to do with betterments. Betterments have long gone, and a betterment needs to be applied for within 6 months of the project. But because of the special legislation that was passed by the State House, and also passed on our town floor, we were able to do this look-back period of recovery, which I think was either 10 or 11 years, or however many years it was. And that's what this was about, was to cover those funds for the cost of putting in a line that was done a long time ago. And then it was felt that since ExxonMobil was coming in with these funds, that those funds would be put to use to eliminate or reduce that betterment charge through the legislation process to the tune of, I don't know, $1.5 million, $2 million, or whatever it was, that totaled to. But it still doesn't take away the fact that we have a privilege fee in place, which has nothing to do with betterments. In that we put a number on the privilege fee, which was approximately the $2,400. And there are properties out there who have now connected to our system who are responsible for paying the privilege fee. That's how I see it. Paul?
You charging $2,400 across the table, or are you gonna prorate it according to the estimated water use?
I know that when the betterment process was first put into place, there was multiple, I don't wanna call them schemes, but, multiple ways of, or methods, which would be, one was the EDU method they considered, and then this one, I think the one they did use was farm. I know I was prevented from, and a couple other commissioners were prevented from the process because we had property within this, but then it was later on proven that Mr. Cosgrove missed some information that wasn't available to him at the time, or wasn't made available at the time. Then he ended up reconsidering his position, and actually, the need of necessity did not play into it because of the number of people. So,
Can't we go by service size? It seems like these are pretty much flat rates, and probably make better money on service size.
I'm not getting, what are you saying?
Charging for connection fees.
Well, first of all, is that's one of the other things is, right now, we do not have connection fees in place.
I understand that.
All right, the process that was gonna go forward when we did the betterments, connection fees were by Southbridge are still in place. So when
Okay.
Southbridge was coming to our town, that whenever a water connection fee would happen, they received, or
But
whenever a
that's done.
connection happened, they received.
They're not getting connection fees anymore.
Yes,
No,
they are.
no, yes, they
They
are.
are?
Yeah.
I think this kinda has to be, this also has to be thought about in the same line of going consecutive water supply. So if, you're not gonna charge a $2,000 connection fee when Southbridge is also charging the $2,000 connection fee. If we go consecutive water supply, and then we start to charge a $2,000 or $2,500 connection fee, which includes the meter and everything else, and that's for, again, that's for a 2-inch service line, it goes up incrementally from there. So rather than having to worry about EDUs and how much
Right,
use they're
it's a
getting,
flat based
the
on
line,
service size. It
the
makes it-
size of the line determines how much use they can get. And then from there, we get to go ahead and, again, kind of mirror what Southbridge does for their connection fees, and probably a lot of other communities, so. Rather than worry about privilege fees and EDUs and all that,
Minimum counts and
we can just
whatever else may be
do
part
that
of it.
straight connection fee based on line size. And it's a little bit cleaner, and it'll probably average out to make about the same.
I don't see it that way.
I know.
I don't see it
How do you
that way.
figure? How do you figure it's not that?
Because I think that, that the costs that we're replacing, or, and we're not replacing, that's a poor word. The cost of maintaining our system and improving our system, that's what the privilege fee is there for, just like now with our sewerage. If someone within our service area stepped forward and said, you know, I've got these 40 acres of land that I had one EDU, but now I wanna do this huge project, what we do is, we end up charging them a privilege fee relative to sewer at $8,200 for every 200 gallons. So, is it fair? Well, you know, that project could go into, and, well, not that they can, because they have to connect to our system if it's available. But if our system wasn't there, they would have to go and build a septic system, which is spend way more than $8,200 for 200 gallons. So, I think it's, I think it's fair. And I think it's fair that we have a privilege fee both for sewer, and it's also fair we have a privilege fee for water. And also is, any of the people who are currently on the school loop or any of these other new lines, they're exempt from any privilege fee from water. Because they've already been considered through ExxonMobil agreement. Because, you know, we're not charging them a privilege fee.
I thought Southbridge was charging ExxonMobil that same $2,000 privilege fee.
Connection
No, it's
fees.
not, it's a,
Connection-
there's a
I'm a
connection
connection
fee.
fee, rather.
Right, because.
Well, no, but we're talking either privilege fee or a connection fee, and
But-
Southbridge charges a connection fee, and I thought they were still
Okay.
charging it, just not to us.
But you got apples, oranges, and pears,
How do you figure?
because you got betterments, okay? Then you've got privilege fees, and then you've got connection fees. They're all different. None of them are the same,
Okay.
all right? So right now,
So
the connection fee,
fees a better benefit than
how's what?
connection fees? You still haven't explained how.
Well,
privilege
what's the
fees are
question?
better- How privilege fees are a better benefit than connection fees,
Well,
structure-wise.
first of all, is, a privilege fee is, as described by the state, is a user of the system who wasn't considered at the time when the infrastructure went in. So what they have to do is, in order for them to get into the system, such as joining a country club, you have to pay a fee to first get in there to play. Doesn't mean you play for nothing, but you have to pay the entry fee. If in fact these people were overlooked at the time, or they step forward and say, you did overlook at me and now I want to connect, then what they're doing is they're paying money that goes into the kitty for the general system and the improvement, and also to make sure that system can continue. Those were those funds supposed to go. The connection fee is the connection fee, going for the process of connecting to the system, which may or may not include meters. I think Southbridge includes the meter in that.
They do.
Right, and also it includes, maybe includes their inspection. So that's why apples, orange, and pears, they're all different.
Well, that's your opinion.
Well, I don't know, well, check the state statute, but, you know, you have that
So if you were looking
prerogative.
to stay with the privilege fees, what would you recommend that the connection fees be?
Well, I would like to see, in fact, even make a motion tonight that our connection fees at this point in time should mimic Southbridge's connection fees. Then that way there is, they've already been proven, they're already in place, everyone's already used to them, and that's what they are.
So if someone was to tie in, they're gonna have to pay a Southbridge and then a Charlton?
No, the only way we would be able to collect a connection fee is if we were the operator, if we had gone consecutive.
And this would be instead of a privilege fee,
No,
connection fee
No,
and a
no.
privilege fee?
yes,
You can
I
drive
thought- I
business
thought
right
s-
out of town.
Only for those people who aren't in the affected area. So the privilege fee would only be for the people outside of the affected area that ExxonMobil are making connections?
if we wanna call the privilege fee would be anybody or any property, it's not persons, it's any property that hasn't already been considered. Most of these properties are west of 169. There certainly could be a property that could be on Stafford Street.
How was that project financed? Was there betterments with it,
Which project?
when they put water main west of 169? Didn't those properties already pay betterments?
The water system that's in Route 20, that goes all the way to the Charlton State Police Barracks, was paid for by a combination of the state of Massachusetts and ExxonMobil.
So were the property owners charged
No.
betterments? Okay.
No, first,
Westbound
no,
on-
property,
westbound
they
on
weren't
Route
even allowed
20?
to connect, Alex.
Okay, that's not, So there was no betterments charged?
Westbound,
Right.
correct.
Yeah.
Okay.
And in fact.
The only areas that would charge betterments were the projects that we approved in 2001 as part of the Route 20 water line, where we went and borrowed the money and
Right.
used, and set aside money
Okay.
from Millennium.
Water, unlike sewage, when you do a sewer project, you are able to charge betterments even when the sewer is not available. When it comes to water projects, you can only charge betterments when the water becomes available. The problem that the town of Charlton had for 11 or 12 years of putting in this $5 million project that went from the Oxford line on Oxbow Road, and then to the pump station, then Route 20 down there by down by Richardson's Corner, then up Route 20, all this way down to Charlton City. We couldn't charge any betterments or receive any money because there was no water in the line. So that's when the town of Charlton, out of their general fund, had to take $290,000 annually to pay for the debt. So with the special legislation allowed us to turn the clock back either 9, 10, 11 years, but I knew there was a limitation on it. And so then, by doing that, we were able to do this betterment charge. And part of that special legislation says you can only collect 50% of it, or you can only charge 50% of what the intended amount was. So what was charged out to these 100 and some odd properties, whether it's 180 or 140, that's where this $2,447 came from, which represents 50% of the maximum. The maximum, if you took the maximum by the number of properties, that was the total cost. I believe, in fact, I will email it to you. There's an Abrams report that 47 pages that was poured out and explains exactly what they did and why they did it. And this was, I think it was Mr. Habel and Mr. Spiewak who worked very closely on this. So, now, have I answered the question or come close to explaining as I recall, why,
Somewhat.
how we got where we are? And granted, it's messy, but the good news is a lot of these people are being refunded the money they would, almost all of them are being refunded the money that they had paid in. So, any new information on that? People getting made whole for what they paid?
I thought that was all set.
It's not all, well, again, not in relationship to the people who were up in front of the selectmen saying, you know, you're not making me whole.
Is it the original person that did it, or is it a person that bought from a person that had paid the betterment?
The issue, it's a compound issue. People who have been paying on time, including the interest, are only being refunded the principal and not the interest they paid. So if in fact they were paying $450 annually, and 50 of it was for interest, they're only being, the way it's right now is they're only being refunded the principal amount, which is 400. And the person saying is, well, I gave you $50 for interest, and no one's gotten paid, why can't I get my $50 back? So this was, and then someone else came in and said, you know, my bill was $6,400, and I paid in the $6,400 3 years ago. Why aren't I getting the interest that I would have gotten in the bank, because they took the money out of the bank to pay this bill? So I believe the selectmen with the town administrator are regrouping in there, and with the tax collector, they're supposed to get back to these people exactly how they're gonna do that. So, it's a mess. Well, it's a mess. No, it needs to get solved. So there are people out there to where we've had the money in town since last, what was it, May? I think that it came out. And some people have gotten reimbursed. I know they won't reimburse you unless you can show all your canceled checks. How's that sound? From 3 years ago, you're gonna go and find all your canceled checks. So, otherwise you don't get reimbursed. Even though they do have a number, they already have the number at the tax collector of how much to reimburse you.
It's a pet peeve of mine, they sent you the bill, and that
Get it
didn't have
from
any
your
problem
bank.
finding where it's supposed to go, but they can't send you the payment back unless you can prove you paid it, which I just find that totally ridiculous, but
So now we're off topic totally.
send the check to
Well,
the
no, we're not
person.
off the topic, because this is, there are many residents who are on our water and sewer lines, who are dealing with this right now.
With getting their interest back.
Well, no, combination of things.
Okay, but
A, getting repaid, or paid back, B, getting their interest back, and C, getting interest for money that they prepaid, and they're being told no, so.
but we don't have any control over that here.
Why
No,
not?
because we don't have the money, but the thing is, I think that maybe this board should have been more involved in all that, but water over the dam.
But we're not dealing with that now, we're dealing with privilege fees.
That's the subject,
Okay.
privilege phase.
Am I incorrect in assuming that when Southbridge charges a $2,000, it's because they don't charge a privilege fee? You
Correct.
pay a connection fee
Correct.
only, right?
Yes.
So why could we not adopt that here? It's our choice, is it not,
Correct.
to charge, you know, if you don't want to exceed Southbridge, it's fine, but
What
a
are
connection fee and a privilege fee sounds a little excessive to me.
What do they charge for an 8-inch connection, you know?
I thought I had the right,
It's
I
cheap.
attached the right sheet, the wrong sheet.
In relationship to,
It's the wrong sheet.
in the relationship to a 1-inch line, which I
About
believe,
a grand an inch.
which it's either,
Yeah.
I don't know, 5/8
So-
or 1 inch, that's $2,000. I think an 8 inch is 12,000.
Okay,
Yeah, so
so,
it's over $1,000 an inch.
okay, to my point, you, it seems to be, you're
It's-
getting double,
It's not near
you're
what.
double dipping to do a privilege fee and a connection fee. Connection fee seems to be the most reasonable means to do it, and it's the way most municipalities do it. And you're gonna end up in.
Most
in the-
older municipalities do that. But don't forget, we have a new system.
Yeah, but it's, what's owed on our system after we get done with ExxonMobil?
I have no idea.
Okay,
Owed,
Okay.
yeah, how much is outstanding debt to the water system?
0.
Thank you.
But what's it take to maintain it? What's it take to operate it? What do we need to replace the infrastructure?
What are we replacing?
Well, I don't know, whatever needs to be replaced.
We've all ducked lines.
Oh,
In the
so
ground.
nothing's ever gonna go wrong?
I didn't say nothing
Okay,
ever,
yeah,
don't put
yeah.
words in my mouth, Rob.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's two ways to do it. The privilege fee, like Mr. Lemansky said, probably in the larger projects would net you more than the 8-inch connection, because you do it based on an EDU method, so that charge would probably be, instead of being 12,000 for an 8-inch or whatever for a 6-inch connection, it would probably be in the 20,000s or 30,000s, like, or even larger, depending on how it is with what, like, how Treehouse worked for the sewer. And if not, it's just, it leaves it might leave a little bit on the table in that respect, but it's kinda half a dozen one way, 6 the
I
other.
think a connection fee is more user-friendly, and, you know, people are paying this, and I know we're a municipality, we gotta pay our repair costs and things like that, but I still think there might be other ways to gain that if we need it, and a flat fee, or depending on the size of the line, 1 inch, 2 inch, whatever.
And that's how Southwood, it's 1 inch, 2 inch, and it increases gradually
Yeah.
based on what size line you
That
want.
would be my preference, without any privilege fee.
I concur. Make a motion, because this is just meter stuff, right? You gave us meter report.
Yeah, I gave you the wrong piece of
That's just
paper.
their tiers?
Yes, that's their tiers for their quarterly, for their billing, not for, I thought I gave you the right sheet with the
Yeah, no,
connection
that's fine.
fees, but that's not it.
Make a motion, that we look back into more of the, what surrounding communities and others are doing for, connection fees. And I think it gives us a better balanced look at what our options are.
I'll second that.
Okay, so, we're gonna ask our superintendent to do some investigating on the subject. Okay,
I'll
send you mine
for work too.
Is that a vote?
any more, well, we're getting ready to vote.
Okay, I'm
Any
sorry.
more discussion? No? Okay, so, you're gonna go out and look at other municipalities
For
as far
connection
as,
fees, sure,
as far as
and privilege fees. I'll ask them
Yeah,
both.
if-
I'll ask them what they,
its combination.
yeah, what they charge.
Okay, good enough. All right, end of discussion? All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye? Okay, passes unanimous.
Okay.
Okay, now we have superintendent report.
Just catch up on a few other things. 231 Sunset Drive, the grinder pump and the backflow device at the curb stop have been replaced. We've opened a claim with our insurance company. We're in the process of getting our cost put together, and the homeowner is working directly with the insurance company, I believe, to get his cost into them as well for repayment. So the repairs have been done. He's back in there. I believe he was only displaced for one night. And the contractor has to come back in the spring when everything's done to redo a little bit of pavement and clean up some of the patio brick he had to move so that he could replace the pump and also fix the sprinkler system. But other than that, everything's good to go. The North Main Street generator, as discussed, the repairs have been completed. The rented generator has been returned and everything seems to be functioning. It seems to be operational. The sewer billing, the commitment report is in the sign folder, which you folks have already signed. We ran the bills on Wednesday, February 21st, forwarded them to Globe Direct, and they printed and they should have been mailed today. We haven't heard anything different, so they should be in the mail. The Route 169 pump station, tank mixers, and SCADA system. Kleinfelder has gone out to bid for these three projects. Bids are due on March 20th and should be awarded by April 2nd. I believe I forwarded everyone an email I received after I sent this out that gave you an update of what Kleinfelder is doing with all these projects and what we can expect to see this summer.
Which is not much. Before we leave there, I know personally, I'm in disagreement with the schedule. I really am disappointed that they won't be breaking ground until, for installing water pipes until late August, early September. And I believe the first line they are thinking of putting in is the one to Masonic Home.
I believe so.
That's correct, yeah. So they won't be doing any of the school loop. They won't be doing anything going to Bay Path, because the last thing we want is them in the street dealing with school buses.
Correct.
So, I think this is a real travesty, that they haven't, put this together so that they can, at least get, Masonic Home and Bay Path connected, and also doing work at both of the schools during the summer, because there's extensive piping that's going in the driveways, probably maybe 2,500 feet, if not more, in those driveways. And it should be done during non-school time. So we've got to expose our kids to another year of this water, because Kleinfelder has either made the choice that they can't get this engineering work done. And they want to make sure that, from what I understand, is they want to put the entire project, or they want the entire project totally engineered and then put out to bid. And I know they're paying the bill, and I know that they're looking for economy of scale. But there's certainly a way, I believe, that they can put that out to bid and take advantage of economy of scale and only put sections of it out at each time. But I know I'm still gonna push as much as I can, wherever I can, as far as trying to get this thing done sooner, or at least try to get something done this construction season. So, I think most of us have read that, what their plan is. So, like I said, I don't know what else can be done, but, Berry Corner Road?
Berry Corner Road, Ty and Bond has submitted their 95% design plans to DEP for approval. There was an informational meeting tonight, this morning. Steve attended, and they are planning on, they requested to be on your agenda for March 12th to talk to you guys and ask if you had any questions. I forwarded you a copy of their design plans today, if you want to try and review them online, if you're able to. But they will be here at your next meeting for discussion. I will not be here at your next meeting, that's my week of vacation. So, Steve will be here. I asked Chris McClure if he could attend to answer any design issues. Chris has been involved in every meeting and every aspect of the design of this on your behalf, so, if any technical questions come up, and he should be able to answer what, how, and why.
As far as the, I did, within the little time I had, as far as looking at that document, where are they, as far as the ledge? I understand the ledge is rather extensive.
Yeah.
And, because I also, understand that the state's budget on this is $10 million and not to exceed it.
Correct.
All right, so what happens with the ledge?
There's a bid quantity in there for ledge, and they bid it by the cubic yard.
I'm saying that's, okay, so we don't know what that bid is yet.
No, they have not gone out to bid yet.
So it's possible that this could go out to bid and the bids could come in
Higher than 10 million?
higher than 10 million.
Yes.
So what's Plan B?
Haven't gotten that far yet.
No Plan B? Not that not that you have to have a Plan B,
So,
Peter, but,
there's a bid one, and there's a bid two alternate. They're comfortable that with what they have for quantities for ledge, that it will be under 10 million at this time. Because of the size of the project, the scope of the project, they feel there'll be plenty of larger construction companies who would be eager to get this job, come in and get it done, and that the $10 million budget should not be an issue at this time.
okay, so, and this would be, these companies could possibly be competing with what we're doing up here at the center of town.
Possibly, I think, again, Kleinfelder, and because it's an ExxonMobil project, if you look at one of their bid documents, they have pre-qualified bidders that they go out to bid for, so they don't do a general blanketed RFP or open bid process. When they did their tank and what they put out to bid already to do the pump station, the tank mixers and SCADA system, they only sent out to 4, I believe, pre-qualified bidders.
Okay,
So I'm not, of those 4, sure, they might be looking at doing both, but there's a lot of other larger companies than they're going to that would be interested in doing that 169, the Berry Corner Road work.
do we know, what's the footage on that, Peter? Is it,
2,500 feet for Berry Corner Road?
there, it'd be more like 20, not, it's more than 2,500, it's gonna be 25,000.
Possibly.
Yeah,
I'd have to look at it.
no, I don't think it's over 4 miles, but it's quite a few miles.
So they'll be here at your next meeting, answer, to kind of come in front of you, let you know where they're at, and just give you an update and answer any questions you may have moving forward. And again, I asked Chris to be here in case you guys have any technical or design questions, he'll be able to let you know why he said yes or no on your behalf. And lastly, the headworks analysis. Ty and Bond will be here tomorrow morning to meet with Veolia and start the headworks process and try and gather some data and information from Veolia so they can get that analysis going. So,
Peter, can we shoot back up to sewer billing?
Sure.
Who's Globe Direct?
They're the company you guys authorized us to use to print and mail the bills?
Okay, so they're not being printed either up at the assessor's office?
No.
When did we start Globe Direct?
You guys authorized me to do that
Back
after I
in the fall.
came on, maybe in November.
Really?
This is our first cycle. Because we had
Okay.
some of the card stock to print the bills,
Yeah.
the last round of bills we did in
I may
November,
have
we
missed that
printed
meeting.
and did it.
Again, this is new to me, at least.
So Globe Direct is a company that the tax collector uses to mail their bills. They don't print and stuff their own bills here. They
So,
s-
so this should help to reduce our indirect fees.
No,
Yeah. But they're doing less.
we used to, this is gonna reduce your direct fees, cause we didn't spend 2 days folding papers and stuffing envelopes. We used to do that,
I
not
thought
the collector.
I thought
And we used to
I thought all
also
the
pay
bills
full.
came from the collector.
We used to print, we used to fold, we used to stuff the envelopes and bring them there for postage only.
Didn't we used to send the information up to the assessor's office
Still do, don't
from
we?
there? We don't send the information up
Then
there?
it comes back.
All right, we've got a few more billings under our
I
belts than you guys.
understand how
Okay.
things, the one billing I took, I
Yeah, yeah.
did before, no, Vadar, we went through Vadar, we had to do it in conjunction with the
Yeah.
assessors and the tax collector,
Okay.
because they couldn't be on Vadar while we were printing the commitment
Right,
report.
right.
We printed them in our office, I folded them with Norma, we
Okay.
stuffed the envelopes, and we brought the stack of 600 bills up to the tax collector's office, where she ran them through the postage meter and
Okay.
charged us the 490
Right,
or whatever
postage, right,
dollars
yeah,
for
yeah,
postage.
Yeah,
So this, for printing with card stock, with everything, and a return envelope, I believe costs us just over $600, because
and they run it through this.
we hit a button, we emailed them a file, and yes, that's it.
Okay, so the assessor's office is doing less,
The assessor's office never did that, we did.
you just told me they ran it through their meter.
I
They
told,
do it for their billing.
no, we took it up there, and that wasn't
Well, no,
enough.
if we take our bills from our office and bring them up to this office,
Yeah.
how does the stamp get on them?
A machine,
What machine?
and the tax collector's office,
Who's on first?
postage machine, Pretty
So,
close.
so the assessors didn't
the
effort,
tax collector.
the tax collector.
It's not enough to,
It's
it's
I'm sorry, it's an effort.
an effort.
Okay,
I'm working
'cause-
on indirect costs, but
You're working on,
I
okay,
am.
because $100,000 is way too much money,
I am working on indirect costs,
the indirect costs, that we're
yes.
being charged by,
yes.
which,
Wasn't that a bulk, we were getting a bulk rate too if we did it this way?
For mailing.
What?
Yes,
Yeah.
but, yeah, I'm working on the indirect
trying to
costs.
do my job here,
I
that's all.
understand.
Trying to do my job. The thing is, again, our subsidy is way too high. Way too high. And, okay, anybody have any additional questions on our superintendent's report here? And Peter, getting back to 231, there's not gonna be any issues here of, or that you know of relative to insurance company and things like this on this
Nope.
claim?
They haven't really squawked that much. We haven't had a lot of information back and forth as of right now, but they haven't said, no, they're not gonna cover the claim for whatever reason.
Okay,
If something does change, then we'll have to figure out exactly what and why, but at this time, that hasn't come up.
okay, okay. And that failure was due to,
The backflow device failed, which caused excessive pressure on the pump, so the pump failed, which bypassed the check valve that was on the pump to fill up the wet well, which backflowed into his basement.
and was properties to would be to the north, and there's probably 5 or 6. When their pumps came on, that actually was pushing effluent
Yes,
that was supposed to go up the street,
correct,
actually coming into their pipe and coming down into their wet well, and,
yes.
okay.
So who's, I think I asked this the last time this came up, who's responsible for that check valve on the lateral? Is it property owners?
We are, that's why our insurance company's covering it.
Where is it?
It's about 1.5 feet off of the,
It's right off of the curb stop. But we replaced the grinder pump. We own the grinder pump right now, so we're responsible for that as well. We've been replacing those all
So
along.
we in turn own the whole system.
From the grinder pump to the road, yes,
And the main on the road.
and the main on the road, definitely. That's my interpretation of how things have been done. So, because we installed the grinder pump as part of the project, because we supplied it, we paid for it, we
Moving forward, when this is all paid
We-
for, it
we
needs to be looked at.
we
because-
repair it, I understand, once we hit our 20 years, the debt's paid off and some of that responsibility changes, there's gonna have to be some type of maybe change of how things are done, and we can worry about that then, but I think we're still a year or two away from that.
We're close.
We're
Yeah.
close.
To when the sun sets.
Did they have a permit? 231 Sunset, didn't it?
You know what, that I didn't ask, to do their renovation in the basement?
Yeah, I think you asked that question, Alex.
Alex did ask that, I didn't ask Kurt, I'll follow. I'll follow up on that.
Okay. Anything else, ladies, gentlemen?
We have an executive session tomorrow night at 8 o'clock with the Board of Selectmen,
That was
if you
my
guys are
question.
available.
What time tomorrow night?
8 o'clock, we're on their agenda.
Is there a regular selectmen's meeting prior to our
Yes.
meeting with them? Okay.
Yeah, they have their regular meeting at 6:30, they have us on their agenda for 8. I posted us for 7:30, just in case if someone gets here early and they're a little early in their meeting, maybe we can go in early, but,
And the subject matter, Peter?
the East Charlton water line and, agreements with Aquarion and the town of Oxford,
Okay.
update and what's going on with that stuff. We do have some previous minutes from executive sessions that, if you guys don't mind, if you could review, we can approve them tomorrow, because they have to be approved in executive session. I didn't want to have an executive session to approve minutes and then just have another set of minutes to approve, kinda starts, but seeing we're meeting tomorrow, if you guys wouldn't mind kinda taking a look at these and reviewing them.
So we take them home tonight, bring them
Yes.
back tomorrow,
Sure.
and we will vote on them.
Yes,
in
executive session. These are the ones that we found that have been signed. They go back maybe a year or two.
Okay?
There's some older ones from 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 that aren't signed. I think these will probably be the easiest to attack right now and get these done. This is 16 and 17, so. Jen, you weren't on for any of these, so that's why you're not getting them.
I don't feel slighted.
So yeah, so that'd be great.
You gonna hand those out?
Yeah.
Okay.
We're almost done. I'll wait till the end.
All right, anything else?
No, that was all.
All right, next regular meeting is March 12th, 2018. That's it.
Okay, I'd like to make a motion to adjourn.
Okay, got a second on that?
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Adjourned.